You've always wanted the powers of a Jedi. On May 5th, you'll get them. All the powers of the Force are yours as you battle your way through the ultimate Jedi action experience. Star Wars Episode 3, the video game. Before you see the movie, live it. Rated T for T.
Well, hello there. Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we're getting into an excellent set of Star Wars games based off, I'm gonna say it, a nice scorching hot take early in the video, my favorite Star Wars movie ever made. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and we've got the PlayStation 2 copy and the Nintendo DS copy to go over in this video. Yes, these are two completely different versions of the game that have different features, different gameplay mechanics. So much has changed between these two, so we're gonna highlight both of them in this video. They're both complete in-box copies, and now that the Kenobi trailer has finally dropped, where it's gonna stream the whole series on May 25th, when I saw that trailer and that track hits at 30 seconds, goosebumps, and oh my god, the nostalgia flowing through me. I just had to sit down and make a video on these games because it was a plan for Retro Rebound. We just had to wait for the trailer to kind of synchronize it. Now, here we are doing that today. So if you're new here and you're into retro gaming content, nostalgic gaming content, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. With that, let's talk about these bad boys right here because I'm so excited to get into them. Let's start off with the PS2 version, the one that I think a lot of you are more familiar with. So this was your standard movie tie-in video game version of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. You'll see what I mean when we get into the DS version where things are much different. So let's start off as per the Retro Rebound tradition with reading the back, opening up the complete in-box copy, going through it all, and then we'll talk about the game in earnest. So it says, exclusive movie content, the only video game to feature footage from Revenge of the Sith. Gripping movie sound effects created by Skywalker Sound, an authentic Star Wars soundtrack that intensifies the action. Wow, were games made different back then? This is the bare minimum you'd expect from a movie tie-in video game, and they're like, look what we're doing for you. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, let's keep reading. It says that it has the power of a Jedi. Play as Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Experience epic duels from the film that test your lightsaber skills and force powers. Enhance your Jedi with new combo moves and upgrade attacks. It also says you can go beyond the film, so it's not just the exclusive movie content that you've seen before, there's more. Go battle through 16 interactive levels, including never-before-seen locations inspired by the film. Clash with Darth Vader and other enemies in multiplayer duels, unlock other characters, locations, and bonuses. Okay, so that's kind of what you're getting. Let's crack it open. Yes, this is probably flooding a lot of memories because this is just an iconic cover here. This was always in the local stores when I was a kid. Best Buy, Circuit City, Blockbuster. I would always see it. You crack it open and boom, there it is. So let's take a look at the, oh my god, I didn't know this was here. Wow, Episode 3 Postcard. Wow, I didn't know this was here. And then on the back, it's got a bunch of promotions for Dark Horse Comics. Wow, I actually didn't know about this because I'd only looked through the manual ahead of this, but I didn't see this back part here, so that's really cool. A nice incident there. But as you can see, my least favorite type of a manual, right? It's the black and white. There's no artistic guidance here. You do see shots from the movie along the bottom, which I do like, but I thought they could have had a cool opportunity here to make like a light blue, kind of look like you're viewing it through a holocron or something like that. I would have liked that. But anyway, they do have little scenes from the movie all throughout, as well as the game itself. So it just teaches you how to play, what modes are offered in the game, the credits in the back, and then of course this little postcard here that you can use to, for those who don't know what it's for, you send feedback to the studio, like which games do you own, how'd you hear about this game, what systems do you own, and that's how they collected data to guide future marketing decisions for the next game. So you saw that a lot in LucasArts published games. But anyway, this game here is one that I remember less fondly, I'll say, than this here. That's not to say it's bad, but I had much more of a stronger tie to this version of the game. So what was great about the PS2 version, I would say, was the combat, because we're not going to talk about the story, like it's the movie. I think most of us have seen Episode 3 at this point in time. If you haven't, check out Episode 1 and 2. You have to slog through a little bit of Episode 2. I think Episode 1's good, but once you get to Episode 3, the payoff is immense. Anyway, what you see is what you get. It is Episode 3, the movie, in the video game, as per most tie-in games. So the combat, to me, is really what I wanted to talk about here for Episode 3, because what I loved about it is, outside of Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, which was another great Star Wars game, that this game had just excellent lightsaber combat. Outside of the story mode where you'd replay the events of the movie, they had a multiplayer versus mode that was this one-on-one lightsaber combat, and it was oddly really good. I mean, that's what was so great about both of these games, is they were oddly good high-effort titles. And for those who don't know, these games came out around 2005. This was a time period where myself and many others know, I'm 26, you'll know, at that time, you were getting some bad tie-in games. Like, it was very rare to pull one off the shelf and go, huh, that was actually a really good experience. And it felt like it valued the property, not just cashed in on it. Again, there's a little bit of, I'd say, lazy effort, because this version says, oh, look, you can experience the movie content. It's the only game that has Revenge of the Sith footage in it. It's like, well, yeah, it's Revenge of the Sith, the video game. I'd hope so. It hasn't aged as well, but that was what was expected in these movie tie-in games. Obviously, we've come very far since then with pop culture entertainment entering the gaming space. But yeah, I really like this game a lot just for its combat. It felt awesome. It does have that same upgradable tree that you'll find in the DS version, but as you go through these levels, you'll continue to upgrade Obi-Wan and Anakin, and you'll just effectively re-experience the movie. So there's not much to say about this version for me personally, outside of the nostalgia of loving that versus mode, having people over and fighting against them over and over and over. That was the sneaky good part of this game. Of course, it was awesome to see certain levels in the game that you didn't really see much of in the movies. This was something that you'd see in, say, like, this is a really obscure reference, but Ubisoft made a game called Naruto Rise of Ninja, and this was a great RPG that kind of filled in some gaps that were in the show itself that you just didn't get to see. Of course, manga readers will know, like, yeah, we saw everything that happened, but there was more interactions with Iruka in the beginning and Mizuki and kind of building that up. And so that's what you get in a game like this. You start to fill in those blanks, and so you create a more intimate connection with the game itself. So I adored this one growing up for the multiplayer fun. Of course, replaying the movie was a good way to just have it cemented in my brain where it will never leave. It's just locked away as a permanent memory. But with that, let's talk about what I think is personally the stronger version of the two. Now, I'll call myself out. I am a little biased on this one. I am indeed a little more in favor of this version because it does have, as you can see on the back here, an art style that speaks to me. We just reviewed Triangle Strategy. Y'all know my favorite console of all time, my favorite handheld of all time, whichever you want to call it, is the Game Boy Advance SP. That was all 16-bit art style. I love 16-bit art style. And this is a 16-bit side-scrolling Star Wars video game. And it is so kick-ass. It's unreal. So, same cover as you saw here with the PS2 version, but the back, it still mentions that is the ultimate Jedi action experience. However, some of the words on the back are different. With the fate of the Republic in your hands, you must master the ways of the Force and resist its dark temptations. Use deadly weapon combos and maneuvers to defeat legendary Star Wars villains, including General Grievous and Count Dooku. It also says, discover formidable Jedi powers, including the Force Push, Saber Throw, and Jedi Mind Trick. Pilot classic Star Wars ships in action-packed 4-player wireless dogfights. This part of the game, a little less crazy about it. I remember playing this with my friends when I was much younger. It's not bad per se, but it's definitely not what you're going to be playing this game for. It's cool that they did include it. I cherish this copy a lot because a couple of Christmases ago, I had remembered this game. That's what's the beauty of, I think, this channel is a lot of people have that light bulb on moment where they're like, oh, I forgot about this. And I think a lot of people may be having it with this game is I remember seeing it a couple of years ago around Christmas time. I think it was in 2019 and going, oh my God, I love this game. And lo and behold, because she's amazing, she's like, here's the complete box copy for you. And I replayed it that night because this game's like an hour and a half tops long. It's really short. That's per campaign. You can play as Anakin, you can play as Obi-Wan, but overall, it's a very, very short game. But when she got it for me, I geeked out. I was like, yo, you listen closely. And so I just cherish this one a lot. Anyway, let's crack open the complete box copy. As you can see here, DS cartridge on the right. On the left, we have the pamphlet, which is very, very nice, might I add, because check this out. Look at that. Look at the colors. Colors do a lot. You can see in the background, like Mustafar, it looks like. Oh, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Color does so much for your boy, as you can tell. You can see the Starship missions. They have little pointers on what the HUD's doing. This is great. This is a great manual. We approve of this manual here on Retro Rebound. And then, of course, it has the Star Wars trilogy for the Game Boy Advance, which was another Ubisoft game. It's crazy to think, like, Ubisoft made this version, and now you see what they're doing with Assassin's Creed. You're like, wow, what a fall from grace, huh? So, we also got inside here this postcard for Revenge of the Sith, which you can, again, give to them to enjoy. It says benefits by registering online, being in the know, and learning in advance of new games. So this was a way for them to also get your address on the email, get your home address, and send you updates on what was going on in the world of video games. Nowadays, we just got Twitter. It's sad, man. It stinks. But anyway, that's what comes with a complete in-box copy of this game. I would recommend, just real quick on an offhand suggestion, getting this version of the game. There is the Game Boy Advance version of the game. It is literally the same game from top to bottom. It's just way more expensive to get complete in-box. Do yourself a favor and get this version right here, because again, same thing, arguably better because it has 2 screens, more HUD, so it's less cluttered on the top screen. But just get this version, much cheaper, and same thing as the Game Boy Advance version. So that would be my call there, but it's up to you in personal preference, depending on what you want, what speaks to you. But anyway, this game was awesome because it was a 2D beat 'em up in the Star Wars Episode 3 universe. I don't know how many of you out there have played Super Star Wars when they brought those games back as PlayStation classics, but I remember playing those on my Vita, and they were like really absurdly difficult because they were very old games. But Episode 3 is like one of my favorite side scrollers of all time. And I know that sounds hyperbolic. It probably sounds like I'm sitting here just loving on some Episode 3 goodness here. But seriously, if you haven't played it, just check out the gameplay. It speaks for itself. Like, this game is riddled with combos. It's riddled with techniques. Just like some of the best 2D side scrolls out there, like you all know I'm a big Mega Man X fan. Just like those games demand mastery, this game does in its own way. Instead of using blasters and rolling around and the Metroidvania elements we'd see in the Metroid series or Castlevania, you have a different style side scroller here, which is much more in your face, action packed, but there are force powers. There are combos you can use on specific enemies that make them much more vulnerable. So it's a game about like true mastery as per usual with these 2D games. And again, just when you hear the music, some of the fights, the paths that you can go on with your upgrade tree, like it's got everything the PS2 version has, but I think its art style, its combat scenarios are just much better designed, honestly. And plus it helps, it's cheaper. At least when I last looked, it's cheaper. So there's just so much about it that nowadays I think would appeal to people. But it's just, I think, the best way to experience the Episode 3 video games, because it's much more condensed. You know what happens in the movie. You know what happens in the movie. You don't need to play a 6-hour version of it. Not to discredit this version. It's awesome. I'm just saying, though, this game captures all of that, all of the significant battles, all of the big moments, through 2 campaigns. So as I said earlier, you could play as Obi-Wan, you could play as Anakin, you pick one of them. They have their own separate upgrade trees. Like, for example, Anakin has Force Choke, so he's going to be strangling some fools with the Force. Meanwhile, someone like Obi-Wan's going to have, like, Push. He's going to have Pull. He's going to have the standard good guy Jedi powers. So their playstyles differentiate a little bit more. And Anakin was busted because you could choke people who were, like, say the Jedi when you go through the library in Coruscant and you're starting to just kill everybody because of Order 66. When you're going through there, you're fighting a lot of Jedi. And so you'll just pick them up, choke them, drop them, and then combo them, and they're done. Because they're some of the toughest enemies in the game. Speaking of which, enemy variety is what makes, I think, a good 2D action game. And this game absolutely has that. Because you'll be fighting Jedi, troopers, droids, etc., and they all demand you to approach them in different ways because there are different versions of each of these enemy types. So in a 1.5-hour game, technically 3 if you combine both playthroughs, there's a lot here, and it's just so fun to go back to every now and again. I love these types of games where, the nostalgia calls you back. You may be a little bit busy with life itself, but you can make time for like an hour to just play and complete this game and refresh your memory on it. It's excellent. I really do like it. And again, the real shocker is Ubisoft did it. Ubisoft. Wow. Who would have thought on that? But I just am so thrilled I got to make this video because it's funny. Quick story time. I didn't want to do this at the beginning because I felt like it would have just gotten in the way of what you all clicked on this video for. But I was preparing for a separate Retro Rebound video at my house, and I was getting some games together for it. And I was remembering that I was working on a Ubisoft video for my Mr. Matty channel. And I had to check and see, like, okay, they made this version. Did they make this version? So I pull it off the shelf, and as I'm looking at these versions of the game, I'm thinking to myself, hey, when are we getting that Kenobi trailer? And lo and behold, I get to the studio here 30 minutes later, and the trailer had just dropped. So back to my house I go, and I grab these games. I'm like, we got to record this now. So it's just funny how something was kind of moving in the force, if you will. Anyway, I just want to share this moment with all of you, reminiscing on 2 excellent Star Wars video games. And certainly, as we move into April with the Lego Star Wars game, as we move into May, Star Wars month with May the 4th be with you, May the 5th be with you, etc., we're going to be talking a lot about Star Wars. So fret not, much more to come. I know there's been a lot of people asking about that. As we did retrospectives for Spider-Man, we got more of those on the way in the can. A lot of people have been saying, hey, where's the Star Wars content? We know you love Star Wars. It's, for those who don't know, like, I'm a sci-fi geek. Like, it's probably my favorite universe. I'm trying to, there's so many amazing things we could talk about right now, and I'm trying to get them in the pipeline. But because we don't upload frequently here, because I don't want to like overkill it, there's just so many opportunities around every corner. So thank you so much for bearing with me, for being interested, for being excited. I really do appreciate it. And with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think of episode 3 in the comments down below. Did you love this game as much as I did? Fire away. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.